Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Luke from InfoSec Luke. We're here for another weekly InfoSec brief, so thanks for tuning in. Got some interesting stories today about cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. 4 stories to go through, so stay tuned. Alright, so diving right in, our first story comes from fastcompany.com. The headline is Exclusive, Visa announces new cybersecurity protections in the wake of rising scams. So this is an interesting article. Obviously, Visa, big in the financial sector. And the article kind of just describes how they've launched a new initiative in order to try to block the rise of scams. And they've invested, it says, billions of dollars in cybersecurity infrastructure and enhanced its global payment network by deploying generative AI to detect and block fraud. It says it includes a team of 2,000 consultants, data scientists, and product experts. Visa is aiming to help clients defend against increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks. So we've talked about this before on the channel, but there has definitely been an uptick in the quantity and quality of different scam attacks or cyber attacks involving impersonation or phishing attempts. Here it says in the article that they blocked a potential $14 billion in presumed fraud in 2024, which represented a 30% increase over what they did in 2023. But a little higher up here, it actually says something interesting too, that according to the cybersecurity and compliance firm Viking Cloud, cybercrime could cost businesses as much as $10.5 trillion by year's end and go up to $15.63 trillion by 2029. So yeah, the scale of attacks is definitely increasing, and a lot of that is due to the use of artificial intelligence by the bad actors. But it's also creating new jobs for the defenders, right? So all this effort that Visa is putting in, it's not unique to Visa. A lot of firms across various industries are bolstering their cybersecurity programs, which is good if you're trying to get into the industry, or if you already work in the industry, it's job security. It's bad in the sense that attackers are getting more sophisticated and probably taking a lot more advantage of people that aren't well read into cybersecurity best practices. So it's a back and forth game, as we've talked about on this channel before. So I'd asked ChatGPT to kind of summarize the article for me, and some things that stood out is what exactly this new advisory service includes. It includes enumeration attack defense, which protects merchants from bots and scripts testing credit card numbers. It includes customized cybersecurity roadmaps, which offer tailored guidance for merchants and partners based on their maturity levels, and then training services for internal teams to recognize social engineering and phishing threats. So again, it's great to see Visa putting a lot of money and manpower towards their enhanced cybersecurity posture. Obviously, credit cards are a huge attack vector, or attack target, I should say, for the malicious actors, because once you compromise someone's credit card number, obviously we've all maybe known someone or encountered that personally, where they get a hold of your debit or your credit card, and then they're off to the races doing fraudulent charges, and you have to go through the whole headache of, getting a new card, putting a freeze on the card, updating all your payment, plans that you've had linked to that card. So it's, thankfully we do have, insurance through the banks against such attacks for the most part, but it's still very inconvenient, and it can cause a lot of headaches. So good to see Visa taking a proactive approach here. All right, not to belabor that point too much, the next one up on the docket is from Forbes. It's actually written by a Forbes council member named Al Kingsley, and it's called Sharpening Up Cybersecurity for a Mobile Workforce. All right, so diving into this article, you can see it says, today's dynamic networks pose an ongoing challenge, keeping up with the constant flow of technology changes. Remote employees, self-service tools, and mobile-first options are reshaping cybersecurity risks and how organizations must respond. Workplace technology is no longer confined to the boundaries of office buildings. That shift brings new responsibilities for keeping IT infrastructure secure. And that's definitely been true for a while now, is the bring your own device concept. even organizations that might install like a work profile on someone's personal phone. There's a lot more people are working remotely, connecting through their home Wi-Fi, and the attack surface has definitely expanded. So some of the challenges that they mention in this article are the unmanaged endpoints, inconsistent patching, and risky user behavior. And their recommended strategies, here's some more listed here as well. Managing lost and or stolen devices, that's a huge concern because that can lead to exposure of sensitive data. The remote support aspect, where IT service desks have to support users with issues either on their mobile devices or even their work provided laptops, things like that. So controlling user access is a little bit more tricky these days. And then, of course, preparing for data breaches. But the recommended defensive strategies listed out here later on in the article include things like adopting a zero-trust security model, where access is never assumed, only granted through constant verification. Unified Endpoint Management, or UEM, which is automating patch cycles and ensuring compliance across all devices. Leveraging mobile device management, MDM tools for those BYOD scenarios that we talked about earlier. And then strengthening the IAM, or identity and access management, with multi-factor authentication and conditional access policies. And these are all things that I do see us doing at my current job. We definitely have an MDM program. We use Intune for device management from Microsoft. We also use the conditional access policies available through Azure. And we're, constantly trying to make sure those are taking effect properly. Those are implemented correctly to secure our environment. But it seems like you can't read any article these days without some mention of AI. So here it is, the AI effect. AI is reshaping the cybersecurity landscape on both sides of the equation. In 2024, 77% of hackers reported using AI, which is kind of funny to me because how do you get a hacker to answer any kind of survey about how they do their work? But apparently they were able to. 86% say that it has fundamentally changed their approach, but IT teams also have new tools. Machine learning and automation can scan data logs, analyze behavior patterns, and flag anomalies in real time, accelerating threat detection and response. The catch: many organizations aren't yet equipped to use AI effectively for defense. Until that changes, the skills gap gives attackers an edge. So the article kind of rounds out with a statement about end user education, just making sure that users are aware of threats such as phishing, spoofed networks, app permissions. And so, it's definitely a combination of having the right tools and policies in place, but also educating the end users on the risks that are present. And we do that at work as well, just having a really robust phish reporting program, as well as some false phishing campaigns that we push out to users in order to get them to be able to recognize the telltale signs of phishing. And so, it's just a combination of the right tools, knowing how to use them, and then also educating your end user base. But mobile work has definitely changed the way that we have to approach cybersecurity in that regard. Okay, moving on to our third story here. This is also from Forbes, and it says how tech giants are reinventing cybersecurity for the AI agent era. And essentially, this article talks about how AI agents are capable of autonomous action, which is revolutionizing enterprise networks, but also challenging traditional security paradigms. It says here, Agentic AI is no longer confined to pioneering companies. These systems now operate across enterprise environments, accessing resources, making decisions, and taking action with minimal human oversight. But with this autonomy comes a new class of risk. Security frameworks built for predictable, human-centric workflows are ill-equipped to handle agents that operate at machine speed, modify APIs, and move sensitive data independently. So that's pretty frightening when you think about it, is we're not just dealing with the end user behavior or the human attacker behavior as we talked about in the last story, but we actually have to worry about what are the agents that are being built within our corporate environments actually doing with our sensitive data. And so a lot of governance has to go into that. A lot of security guardrails as best we can. We need to know exactly how these agents are operating and so forth. It says down here, every new AI agent is both an asset and a new risk. Securing agentic AI is a fundamentally new challenge where we need to integrate predictable guardrails and policies into what are, by definition, non-deterministic systems. These are some of the biggest challenges in the history of security. In conversations with security and infrastructure leaders, the disconnect is often around how quickly legacy security paradigms and teams can evolve to meet this new reality. So the article goes on to list out here a new defense playbook, AI-powered security at enterprise scale. And it talks about solutions such as Microsoft Security Copilots that can detect and neutralize threats with limited human intervention. It says that Google Cloud is also emphasizing traceability and auditability across its AI services. And IBM is applying identity governance to AI systems. So again, the answer to how to secure AI seems to be more AI, right? Just because the speed at which these agents can operate. I think at work we're actually trying to implement some Copilot agents. Those are in the works. And so how do you have visibility into the data flows of these agents and whether they're reaching out externally, and how do we wrap our heads around that? The answer might be another AI security tool like Security Copilot. Of course, all of these AI activities can be logged and monitored, but since they're operating somewhat independently and at lightning speed, it's a challenge for any moderately staffed or even well-staffed IT security team to get their hands around that. So again, maybe they need an AI tool to manage that workload and automate some of their security implementations. So I thought here it might be a good idea just to step away and ask chat, what are some examples of what Copilot agents, that's Microsoft's brand of agentic AI, can do to automate business operations. And it says some of the examples of things they can do are automated lead and sales management, where they actually take contacts and turn them into sales leads. They can schedule up follow-up meetings and engage customers. And they're drawing from M365 data for personalized outreach. They can do things like knowledge retrieval and document drafting. So it's baked into the Microsoft 365 apps like Word, Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint, answering questions about your company's files, drafting emails or documents. There's workflow automation through Power Automate. There's task-specific agents like onboarding or IT help desk. You can actually, create bots for your IT help desk that can kind of be tailored using your internal knowledge and then deployed to your internal website. Autonomous task handling, so invoice reviews, returns, etc. So a lot of things that humans spend a lot of time doing, the agent is supposed to be able to save a lot of time. But again, there's risk that comes with that, right? Once you take it outside of the human's control, you want to be sure that it's not doing anything inappropriate with your data or reaching out in manners that could be harmful to your company's reputation or anything like that. So, with the upsides come the downsides, the potential downsides, and they have to be monitored and tuned accordingly. And to do that, as we just mentioned, a human might not be able to monitor all these agents once they're out in the wild. So again, there may be tools like Security Copilot, which can flag anything that might be potentially risky. And that's just in the Microsoft ecosystem. I'm sure Google has its own variants and AWS as well. But I'm just more familiar with Microsoft, so that's kind of why I asked about Copilot. So, okay, so that brings us to our final story for the evening. We're again from Forbes here by Rob Green, The Hidden Risks of Agentic AI and How to Govern Them. So kind of what we were talking about with the last article, but hopefully we'll get some insights here. It says, as artificial intelligence and agentic capabilities rapidly expand to solve for practical value-added use cases and practical applications, organizations are grappling with the complexities of governance and security. As is often the case with new technology waves, we see policies, procedures, and tools struggling to keep up with the pace of innovation. Goes on to say, to understand agentic AI governance, You have to have your governance policies, processes, and safeguards remain in lockstep with agentic developments. And it's vital to conduct rigorous and frequent reviews with inputs from stakeholders across the organization. This includes legal, IT, sales, services, operations, and any group that stands to benefit from agentic AI. Goes on to talk about policy development and legal involvement. A cornerstone of effective governance lies in comprehensive policy development. You can't put the burden of AI policy development just on the tech teams or those who will be using the AI models. The legal team needs to be involved from the outset to ensure compliance and mitigate liability risks. And then some of the challenges in implementation. It says that the developing governance models is only part of the equation. Socializing these policies within the organization is equally crucial. If your organization doesn't see guidelines as reasonable and easily adoptable, they're going to try to find ways around them, which is very true. Goes on to say, security, a shift-left approach. Security considerations must be integrated into AI projects from the outset, a practice known as the shift-left mentality. Incorporating thorough quality assurance processes tailored to address AI-specific security vulnerabilities is essential. So then they're talking about some of the lessons learned, client engagement and regional nuances, key takeaways. This is good, a bulleted list. Let's go through this. Collaborate with legal teams, implement robust policies, prioritize security, monitor continuously, foster organizational buy-in, engage clients thoughtfully. So those are all sound pieces of advice, but I think one of the major hurdles or problems is that once you've got your agents out there in production, how are you going to have eyes on what they're doing? How are you going to ensure that they're not causing data leakage or communicating in ways that are not aligned with your policies? And again, kind of how we mentioned in the previous story, the answer to an AI problem might be more AI. So I could imagine that as organizations adopt more agentic AI, there'll be a niche market for tool sets that can monitor and detect those with an artificial intelligence of their own and surface up any, risky or unusual behavior to someone who can actually press a button to stop the AI or to go in and tweak its parameters or something like that. But again, it's just, you have to be mindful probably also at the outset about who you're allowing to develop agents and whether those agents are internally facing only, which is lower risk, or whether they have external ties to your customers or anything like that, because you just don't want data leakage, you don't want the reputational damage of things getting out of hand. So that'll about wrap us up for tonight's weekly InfoSec brief. I hope you guys found this somewhat informative and useful. As always, if you can just remember to like the video, share it, comment, subscribe, any of those would be great. Would love to get some more comments on some of my videos just so that I can see what you guys are thinking and maybe get some different perspectives or ideas for future videos. So once again, this is InfoSec Luke signing out.